Have you ever noticed that staying true quietly attracts resistance? You weren't doing anything to provoke it. You weren't making a grand statement or picking a fight. You were simply following what felt right, moment by moment, day by day. There was a time when your life felt aligned from the inside, even if the world around you was messy and imperfect. You moved from a place of instinct, a quiet inner knowing. It wasn't about being rebellious or trying to stand out. It was just honest. You made choices that felt clean, that let you sleep at night. You took the path that felt true, not because it was the easiest, but because it was yours. And during that time, you were coping. You weren't collapsing under the weight of things. Life had its challenges, of course. There were difficult days and confusing moments, but something inside felt steady. You had a compass, and you were following it. You weren't looking for approval or permission. You were just living in a way that felt authentic to you, moving through the world with a sense of quiet integrity. It was a simple, grounded state of being. You were just you. Then you started to feel a subtle friction. It wasn't a sudden explosion or a dramatic betrayal. It was quieter than that. A gentle but persistent pressure from the outside. You noticed that people began to misunderstand your intentions. Your words were taken in ways you never meant them. You felt trust shift, sometimes without any clear explanation. It was like a current changing beneath a calm surface. Information started to move in strange ways, in circles you didn't initiate. Conversations you had in confidence seemed to echo back to you from unexpected places. Your openness, the very thing that made you feel aligned, was met with a quiet, unspoken resistance. It wasn't overt hostility. It was more like a door being gently closed in your face, a smile that didn't quite reach the eyes. At first, you tried to rationalize it. You told yourself it was all a coincidence, that you should just ignore it, that it didn't really matter. You thought maybe you were being too sensitive, reading too much into things. But those old explanations started to feel hollow. They no longer brought relief. Deep down, you knew something was misaligned. Not with you, but between your inner world and how the outer world was responding to it. The dissonance was undeniable. A quiet hum of disharmony you could no longer ignore. So you began to watch. You slowed down, not out of fear, but out of a need for clarity. You started questioning things you'd once taken for granted. You wondered just how visible your sincerity was to others. Was it seen as a threat? A weakness? Or just something that didn't fit their narrative? You started to notice patterns. You saw moments where a situation could have escalated, where things could have gone very wrong for you, but for some reason, they just didn't. You felt these strange pauses in the flow of events, almost like a breath being held, where the outcome seemed to shift without any effort on your part. A conflict that was brewing suddenly dissolved. An accusation that was being formed never found its voice. You reflected on how many times harm never fully landed. It was aimed in your direction. You could feel its approach, but it was as if it passed right through you, or was deflected at the last second. You saw doors close that you desperately wanted to keep open, only to realize much later that they led to places you didn't need to be. This wasn't magic. It wasn't some dramatic, divine intervention. It was quiet. It was subtle. And it happened over and over again. You started to realize that your inner alignment didn't make you untouchable. It didn't grant you a life free from challenges or ill intentions. But it did change how situations unfolded around you. It altered the geometry of your path. There were no shortcuts here, no mystical secrets. It was simply the physics of staying true. And then came a recognition you couldn't unsee. It wasn't a sudden epiphany, but a slow, dawning awareness. You began to sense that staying true to yourself didn't isolate you. It placed you correctly. It was like a complex sorting process, happening just beyond your immediate perception. Not everything that happened was to protect you. Some things were just difficult. Some losses were just losses. But you saw a consistent force at play, one that was constantly repositioning you, moving you out of one situation and into another, closing one path to reveal a different one. This wasn't because you were special, or chosen, or better than anyone else. It was simpler than that. It was happening because you were being honest with yourself. Your internal compass was so clear that your life began to orient itself around it. You stopped questioning every interruption as a personal failure. You stopped feeling the need to explain every detour to others, or even to yourself. You started to trust the alignment itself, not the specific outcome you thought you wanted. You let go of the need to control the destination and instead focused on the integrity of each step. You understood that the path was being cleared, not always to make things easy, but to keep you true. And so, you continue moving forward. You are still open. You are still human, with all the vulnerability that entails. You are still careful, but you are no longer naive. You haven't hardened your heart. You haven't built walls around yourself or started scanning every room for enemies. That would be a betrayal of the very alignment you've worked so hard to maintain. Instead, you just stay aligned. You keep listening to that inner compass. You keep making the choices that feel clean. The difference is that now, you know what is happening. You recognize the subtle currents at play. You feel the shifts and the redirections, even if you can't explain exactly how they work. You don't need to. You just need to keep walking. You were not lucky. You were aligned.